Having a good time? Had this been good? On behalf of your shepherds, we're very glad that you're here. I've already had somebody say, why can't we do this more often? That's a good put. Glad you're here. It's been really great. And of course, it's not over yet. Do you ever have like weird dreams? I have weird dreams a lot. You wake up and I can't even remember all of it, but it just doesn't make sense. Well, let me tell you about this dream. Maybe y'all can help me figure it out. Well, it was Judgment Day, and standing in line at the pearly gates, and Peter was there, deciding whether or not you were getting in or not. Now, it doesn't work that way, but this is the weird dream, okay? So it was my turn. I came up to Peter, and he wanted my social security number. And he looked me up. And he started shaking his head. This is not a time you want to be shaking your head this way. So he said, well, Joe, I got good news and I got bad news. Well, okay. The good news is you made it in. You get to be in heaven for all of eternity. All right. Well, what could be the bad news? Well, the bad news is you just barely made it in. Okay, again, I don't know if it works that way either. This is the dream, all right? And because I just barely made it in, you have to walk around with this woman for the first 10,000 years. Now, this woman was, well, she was a walking definition of ugly. And I'm used to a gorgeous smoking hot wife over here. And, so this was, oh man, it's going to be hard. But hey, I'm in. So, maybe the first 10,000 years just going to fly by. So, we go walking around, enjoying the singing. I look across the way and I see Alan Crawford. Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. Now, Alan, he had a woman walking around with him too. But this woman walking around with Alan was like drop dead gorgeous. And I was like, something's not right. I just barely made it in, so I got this really ugly woman walking around with me. There is no way I was worse than Alan Crawford. Something ain't right. So I'm thinking, maybe it was a mix-up. I mean, we went to the same church. We're about the same age, although Alan is a few months older. And, Brown, Crawford, pretty close alphabetically. I don't know about our social security number. Maybe I'm supposed to have that one and he's supposed to have this one. So I go back to Peter and I said, hey Peter, glad to be here, not complaining, okay? But I realized I just barely made it in. That's why I'm walking around with her. And but I saw Alan. Do you know Alan Crawford? Peter, yeah, I know Alan. Yeah, I know him well. I said, well, I don't get it. He's walking around with this gorgeous woman. He wasn't any. He just stops me. Joe, stop. He said, this is one of the problems that you had on earth is you don't understand everything. Okay? He said, you see that woman walking around with Alan? I said, oh yeah. And he said, well, what you don't know about her, she just barely made it in. I've been waiting to tell that. I thought, well, who needs to be the butt of this joke? Alan just. I actually got his permission, okay? What was that?
If you know it's a dream, because you're in heaven.
All right, I got one more story for you, but this one is true. The second one is a true story. Okay, Brian Starling. You stand up in case people don't know who you are. Okay, it's Brian Starling, so you new folks, that's Brian. What you may not know about Brian is he has had, okay. All right. You had a lot of fentanyl. Well, I hope there's some excuse because y'all will understand here in a little bit. All right, so Brian has had 3 brain surgeries. The last one was about 8 years ago. Brian had a tumor in the left side of his brain about the size of an egg. I mean, big deal. Okay, this is inside the brain. It's going to be surgically removed. Our family and their family were in the same small group at that time, and quite frankly, I was rather concerned for Brian and the family. And this is no walk in the park in terms of the surgery. Well, so that day I went to the hospital. It was at All Saints downtown, where actually Brian was an employee of that hospital system. Well, by the time I got there a little bit late, he was already out of surgery, already out of recovery, and in a room, but still asleep. Now, I hadn't woke up yet. So I go into the room, and he's there in bed, and his head's all wrapped up. He's had brain surgery. Justin was there, and I think maybe some other family member was there, but I can't remember. And I was in there for a little bit, and then Justin and the other family member left and went downstairs to talk to some other extended family. I just left me and a sleeping Brian in the room. He's laying on the bed, and I'm sitting kind of at the foot of the bed. Imagine where Paul is here, that's the bed, and I'm sitting in kind of a window seat at the foot of the bed, just directly opposite Brian. Blinds are open, there's lots of light coming in, and I'm just glad that it had been a successful surgery. Well, about that time, Brian opens his eyes. He's waking up. He's a little disoriented. Look at you. The first thing he sees is me, and he's sitting in this window. And after, he seemed to be kind of confused, and, just waking up. He said, got fentanyl in, okay? So he says, hey, Joe, yeah. And I forget exactly what I said, like, you doing okay? And he's kind of getting oriented, looking okay. He's like, I'm waking up from surgery in a hospital. And after a moment, he goes, man, Joe, he said, when I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was you sitting in this window, this light. I'm thinking he's about to say, well, I'm really glad you're here. You didn't have to come. I really appreciate it. Well, that's not what he said. This is the God's honest truth. If you don't know Brian, he's a pretty nice, laid-back, serious-minded dude. Okay, and he said, Joe, I opened my eyes, I saw you there. I thought I had died and gone to hell. True story. Yeah, I still don't know what to make out of that. And some of y'all are thinking, there ain't nothing to think about. There's no fuzz on that picture. Anyway, someday maybe Brian can explain that to me, but it definitely wasn't, hey, well, so glad you're here and all that. But anyway, all right. What was that, Brian? Pretty loud there. Okay, all right. Okay, anyway, without further ado, let's turn it over to the True Entertainment tonight. Awesome.
Thank you. Do it. Man, you remember when you'd see somebody a long time ago and you see them with a mask at the airport and you'd be like, oh, what's wrong with you? Now you see somebody without a mask, and you're like, what's wrong with you? It's weird how things are changing, right? I take it serious and everything. It's just, we gotta laugh a little bit because otherwise we're gonna go crazy. Used to when somebody'd sneeze in public, somebody would yell, God bless you. Now they just yell, duck and cover. So, now remember, I walked into the bank the other day without my mask. The teller put up her hands, opened the vault, and I paid off my student loans. It was awesome. I walked into the gas station the other day and I was reaching for my mask because I forgot to put it on, and my hand got stuck in the jacket pocket. They thought I was robbing the place. It was crazy. I can turn out the lights on this place. I'm telling you, y'all see that? That's super incredible what talent I have. Thank you, bro. That's good. Yeah, this is actually my first comedy show with, sponsored by Connect 4. So I just want you guys to know that's exciting as well. Today's been brought to you by, I'm just playing, that's funny. They're playing Connect 4. But I get it. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up with a mom that was embarrassing. I think parents are put on this planet to embarrass us, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Because my mom would introduce me like this. She would say, this is my son and he's husky. It's like, Mom, what are you doing? She's like, oh, you're husky. It's like, I know, but you don't have to introduce me like that. Now, to be fair, the only place that we could buy my jeans was Sears. Over in one little corner, you know what I'm talking about? He's like raising the roof. He's like, I know, but and the only place we get it was Sears with the Tough Skins with husky, giant letters written on the back. Husky, which is a Greek word. I looked it up. It means pick me last. They weren't even Cool Kid jeans. They were like 4 pair of jeans melted together. They made a sound when you walked. It was like this. Which was terrible for hide and go seek. Everybody's like, shh, listen for Hoss, he has husky jeans on. I think you can hear him sweat. I sweat a lot, I'm just telling you. My mom had a lot of sayings though, I don't know about you, you probably can finish this one. You're getting on my last. Oh, y'all know that one. I was like, why didn't you tell me like 3 nerves ago? I'd have slowed down. Or she would send me to my room until I learned how to act. Anybody else get done that? Like, you go to your room until you learn how to act. I'd come out a few minutes later. Hark, what light through yonder window breaks. Is the east and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair son, and kill the enemy. Shakespeare, thank you. You can clap, thank you. Or she would say, go chase your dreams. And I was like, I can't, I've got asthma. And husky jeans. Just the friction alone, you know what I'm saying? I gotta do it. Or my favorite, can't go swim until 30 minutes after you eat. I still don't know how to swim. Let's let some of y'all catch up on that one. Because that's like one of those waves that kind of starts over here. It's like, ha! That person knows the struggle, right? And then over here it's like, oh, I get it. He resets the clock, My dad, he had sayings too. All of his rhymed. Like he would send us to school the first day of school, and he'd say the same kind of rhyme every year, first day of school. I got 3 brothers. He said, if you don't get whooped trying to whoop the guy that whooped your brother, you're going to get whooped when you get home. Thanks, Dr. Seuss. All I know from that little rhyme is at some point in today, I'm going to get whooped. Oh, and he also, there's 4 of us, he'd say, so if I don't know who did it, you're all going to get it, right? Why did that have to rhyme, too? Enough with the rhymes, I mean it. Does anybody want a peanut? Okay, so, someone laughed. Someone has seen The Princess Bride. Thank you. All right, there we go. Oh, but my dad had all kinds of sayings like, I don't know, how about this one? Go to your room, I'll be there in a who said Jiffy? She said, my dad never said Jiffy. Go to your room, I'll be there in a Jiffy. Can you imagine? I'd be like, great dad, I'm gonna get the Scrabble game out, it's gonna be fun. There's somebody in every crowd, by the way, that was a setup. She had no idea, we did not plan this. There's someone always like, Jiffy! No! My dad's like, I'll be there in a minute. It's a long hallway, you know. Oh, and he would say this one. If you don't stop crying, I'll give you away. I'm sorry, I guess your dad had something else to say. But I guess giving you away is something to cry about, so there you have it. This is my dad. Oh man, we get in trouble all the time, and most of the time we got in trouble at church. My dad's a preacher, but my dad had a skill. His skill was this. He could yell at you without saying a single word. How many of y'all learned that skill as parents, right? So I'm over there, I found the idea box at church. Okay, the lost and found. You know what I'm talking about? I put on somebody else's glasses, they left there in the 70s, and I turned to my friends and I'm like, hey guys, guess who it is? You know? They're like, who? And I was like, I don't know, I just made myself up. You know what I mean? So, then I'd find the little metal flashlight in there left from the 60s, and I was all of a sudden whisked away to the world of Star Wars, you know? You know, just, and then I'm like, by the way, that's the sound I make with my CPAP down. My wife won't ask me a single question all day long. Not one question, no, not text, not a phone call. At dinner, we're just eating. I put the CPAP machine on. How was your day? You can't talk with that thing going with the, 20,000 pounds per square inch going, with pounds per, I don't know how that works, okay? But with the mask on, you're just like, all of a sudden you sound like you ate a person. You're like, it's terrible. But I'm over there and I'm like, got this Star Wars thing going on. From across the room, my dad looks at me and he yells without saying a word. He's like this. It's working really good, by the way. He goes into ninja mode for 3, you know. I run over there and I'm like, he's like, did you not hear me? Craziest thing I've ever heard a parent say to a smart aleck kid. He said, don't make me count to 3. And I'm like, why? Because you can't get that high? And that's the very moment my dad reversed his tactic. He now yelled without moving his mouth because his teeth stuck together and he became a ventriloquist. He's like, I told you to get over here. Look at me, son. I want you to look me in the eyes. Don't you dare run from me, because I can hear you in those husky G's. You can clap now. That's when you clap, I guess. Oh. Man, when we get in trouble with Dad, though, it's always going to Spanky Town, you know? And I was always singing, don't take me to, okay. So, my dad, he had that rule, you don't know who did it, you all want to get it. Well, I was the slow one, I got it first. Like, on the basketball court, my dad, you can take him to the right because he's got a bad knee and score. But now when it's time to go to Spanky Town, he becomes like Mr. Fantastic. His arm comes across the room, grabs a hold of your arms like, run for your lives, I'm caught on the tractor beam. And in one move, my dad can pull me across the room, turn me around, bend me over, pull out his belt that would magically fold in half, and you heard every belt loop on the way out. It was like, he was husky too, so. My mom would spank us, but it wasn't ever as bad, right? I mean, but somehow she could still come up with Dad's belt. She'd be standing there and just reach right behind her. I'm like, I can only imagine my dad's at the church office and he's like, where'd my belt go? I guess one of them did it. I hope they all get it, you know. Good times. Man's laughing back here, that's great. That's great, I'm a dad. I know that's hard to believe for some people. They're like, you are presenting a child to the future? Yes, that's me. We were driving around the other day and I'm teaching her to drive. Y'all, teaching a child to drive, it's made me a basket case. Probably because of all the weaving on the road. But anyway, that's a terrible one. I just threw that out there. I wrote that the other day. That was a terrible joke, wasn't it? I like groans every once in a while. That makes me feel better. But we stopped at a stoplight and she mistook the brake for the gas pedal. And don't worry, she overcompensated by pushing it harder. And I'm an old dad, you know, and I yelled at her and I said, "You're not Richard Petty." She looked at me right in the eye. She said, "I don't get the reference." We're in two different worlds. I tried to talk like her one day. I was like, I'm gonna tell her to clean her room, right? So I'm outside of her door and I'm practicing. I'm thinking, I'm gonna tell her this, I'm gonna say it like this, I'm gonna tell her, you know, I hear her say things like, "That's lit." When I was a kid, that meant something totally different. So I thought it was like, is lit just short for legit? Which is actually short for legitimate? So I'm gonna get ahead of it and I'm gonna be like, "Lord." And I'm like, okay, she says that, and she says things like throwing shade. Heard that one. Just chill, Dad. I've heard that a lot. I'm vibing. I don't know what that means. So I'm outside of her door and I'm practicing. But then when I open her door and I see the condition of her room, I turn into Shakespeare. I can't get it right. I'm like, "The condition of thy chambers utterly disgust me. The stench has invaded my nostrils. Look into my eyes when I talk unto thee. Cast not thy shadow upon me." Okay, that's what I was doing. I was messing that all up, but having fun. Man. Oh, when I was growing up, I got distracted all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? You ever get distracted? I have this thing called ADD. Y'all ever heard of it? It's attention deficit. Nice shoes. That's what it is. Yeah, I've been trying to, I love sports. Any big sports fans here, right? Y'all like sports over here, anybody? All right. I wasn't any good at it. So what was happening is like, I was trying to play baseball. I love baseball. I love everything. I like to watch baseball, so I'm one of those guys. But one year, they reformed the district in our town. So I got to be on two different teams on the same year and sit on the bench on both of those. That was pretty cool. My dad was a big supporter of me being on the bench. I'm telling you, like, I remember one time he was right behind me, my dad, you know, and I said to the coach, "Hey coach, can I play?" And he's like, "You sit right there." My dad jumped to his feet and he said, "Good eye, coach, good eye." It's like, that's not how that works, Dad. Then we moved to Pennsylvania. And since wrestling was huge in Pennsylvania, and I was huge in Pennsylvania, I decided to go out for wrestling. Anybody do wrestling in here? You or him? Okay. Oh, you. So, she still wrestles. Okay. Do y'all have a counseling program at your church? Might help, I'm not sure. I'm just saying. No, I went out for wrestling, but the problem is like, I don't know, there was three things that I didn't like about my first wrestling meet. First problem, they weigh you in front of everybody in your underwear. It's true. Second problem, if you're tracking along with the 3. Second problem, they take a Sharpie and write your weight on your arm. I was 10 years old and I weighed 110 pounds. I get that same deafening silence everywhere I go. They took this marker and they're like 1, 1, 0, husky. You know, that's what. And the third problem is they hand you a 1920s swimsuit to wear. Have you seen this thing? It's called a singlet. Do you know what a 10-year-old about this tall that weighs 110 pounds looks like in a singlet? I'm gonna give you a picture, a mental picture. Go to your refrigerator, get out one a can of biscuits, peel back the paper. That was me. I'm not doing wrestling. One of my dad's other favorite things to tell us was get a job. I'm like, I'm 9 years old, Dad. Where am I going to get a job? Oh no, get a job. So when I was 12, I got my first job, a paper route. Anybody paper route people in here? All right, y'all know what I'm talking about, where you roll up the papers every morning and for about 2 days and then your dad takes over. You remember those days? Okay. So I got my first paper route and it was downhill, which was great because at the bottom of the hill was a payphone so I could call my dad for a ride home. The only problem is it was one of those rotary phones, you know, and so I'd always forget where I was halfway through. I'd be like, put in the quarter. Then I'd hear the ice cream truck, you know? And I'd start running. It turns out it's not the ice cream truck at all. It was just my dad playing that song in the minivan. It's like, I told you you could run. I scream, you scream, we all run for ice cream, Dad! It's that simple. So I had to get my own bicycle. I got my first bike that I paid for with my own money. I went to Kmart. Let's all have a moment of silence for Kmart. Okay, anyway, so I went to Kmart and I bought my first bike and it was white with red and blue splatter paint. This was the 80s. Had red mag wheels, white tires, a number on the front, streamers coming out of this, but those would be removed. And in giant letters written down the side of the bike, it said, Huffy. I had husky jeans and a Huffy bike. You know, some kids had a bell on their bike to tell the people that the paper was here. I didn't need it. You know why? Because I had asthma. So I'd be just riding my bike and all of a sudden be like, I hear him in the inside, there's like, honey, I believe the paper's here, I hear the asthma call. And I like music, so everything kind of sounded like music. You pull the newspaper out of the bag, it's like, and you go, then you're like, you put it all together, it's like this. Good times had by all. Well, I miss traveling and I was looking forward to this trip so much. I was. But we've had our fiascos. That's my mom always said that. Everything was a fiasco. Anybody's parents ever say that word? Like a fiasco? It's like, oh, it was a fiasco. It's like, you went to the mall. Oh, it was a fiasco. It's like, that sounds like a disco and I'm really wanting to go now, Mom. Just saying. That sounds like fun. It sounds, I just wrote that on the fly. Sorry about that. Halfway decent joke. Okay, so here we go. But I'm traveling, I used to travel a lot, and one time I was like doing a little car tour, and I decided to rent a car for that, and at this time it worked. But anyway, so I go up there and I said, I need something with good gas mileage, and they said, we have a Prius. And I said, I'll take it. They didn't tell me what kind of Prius they had. The closer I got to this car, the smaller it got. It said Prius C. The C stood for compact, or in my case, I can't fit. To better describe this little bitty compact car, it gave birth to me 22 times on the trip. National Geographic was following me around. It's like, oh look, the Prius is having a baby. It was on the BBC, that's why I had that accent. Anyway, so it's 300 pounds and it runs on Taco Bell. That was a small car. I couldn't even sit up and down in it. I had to lean on the passenger seat, which means the entire 4-hour drive, there was an alarm going off telling me that the passenger didn't have his seatbelt on. And the whole time I'm like, I am the passenger! Sinner. Stop right there. I sneezed and did a 360 on the interstate. I'm telling you, that was a small car. I flew out of the Paducah, Kentucky airport once. Actually 2 times, before they even had jet service. They had the old prop planes. But I got to this tiny little airport and I saw this lady and she's working the counter for American Airlines and I hand her my luggage. She's like, can I see your ID? And I was like, of course. She prints off my tickets, takes my luggage, puts it on the little thing, and I will go over to the TSA and it said, be back in 10 minutes. It's a small airport. I'm like, what is the TSA? And I turn back around, there she is again. Same lady from over here. Over there, she was wearing an American Airlines vest. Right here, TSA vest. And she's like, can I see your ID? Yes. So I get through and we're in the little, I found my gate, gate number 1. And food court was nice. I recommend D7. Okay, that's. Then we're standing there waiting for our departure time, and here comes that same lady wearing an orange vest with those little flashlight cones. And she said, follow me to the plane. And I said, if you're flying, I'm walking. Because nobody can be trained that well. So that was fun. Oh man, I remember getting in a vehicle that was meant for me in the Dominican Republic. It's like a big open air bus with a U-shaped couch on the back. You know what I'm talking about? It's huge. Anybody been on those in the third world country? They're awesome. You like the wind in your eye. We're going up to the little village where we're going to do our mission work, and this little boy sits down next to me and starts rubbing my belly. I was like, okay. He looks in my eyes and he says, mi amigo es grande. And I'd been to Taco Bell enough to know he was correct. I'm a grande gringo. And all of a sudden this other kid gets on the bus and he looks at me and he says, hola, Fefi. It's like, no, my name is Haas. No, Fefi. It's like, that's a poodle's name, first of all. Secondly, no, it's Haas. Let me spell it for you. J-O. It's a Spanish joke. I was testing to see who could speak Spanish in the room. If you don't speak Spanish, I'm going to follow you to the store and watch you buy some jalapenos. Okay? So I'm like, no, it's J-O-S-S. Haas. No, Fefi. And then he says this, Fefi, fresca a la memoria. Falls to the ground. It's like, that's the strangest greeting I have ever seen in my whole life. We get to the village and these kids all surround me and they're all calling me Fefi, this weird poodle's name, and they're all hitting the top of their head, talking about Fresca, the drink, and falling to the ground. And I'm like, the missionary looks over, he's like, there's 12 kids on the ground, playing dead around me. And he says, what happened? I said, I have no idea. They called me Fefi, they hit their head, and they fell to the ground. And he said, I am so sorry, Haas. We watched The Princess Bride this morning. They all think you're Andre the Giant. To this day in that village, they still call me Fefi. Hola, Fefi! And I'm like, hola, it's sauce! And they showed me where I'm gonna sleep in the bunk. And it's like 5.5 feet long, and I'm a foot taller than that. Not quite, but I like to think so. I get it. I'm not that, everybody's like, if you're 5'11", that's a rough life. I'm just gonna say that right now. Anybody 5'11" around here? You're 5'11"? This is what I mean. You're like, Lord, I just want to be an inch taller, right? Right? I want to be 6 foot. I want to be 6 foot. That's what everybody's like, just give me 6 feet. That's what that's not even my show ever. I just don't know why I show it. You're 5'11.5". Look, he's even trying to get to 6 feet. He's like, half an inch more. I get it. Okay. Oh, we're at 27, is that right? That's hilarious. So I've got like 10 more minutes that's supposed to be in my 25 for the dry bar set that I have to record at the end of the month, which I was trying to do for you. I've got to do some cutting, but it's all good. I love it. All right, so maybe they'll have me back for a second one. All right, so they show me this little bitty cot that I got to sleep on, and they're all covered with mosquito nets. And I said, are the mosquitoes that bad in this country? Do we have to have these mosquito nets? And they said, no, it's for the critters. I don't speak sign language either. But I've got to know what this means. And he said, it's right there. My friend Joaquin points at it. It's the tree, it's the face hugger from the movie Alien. They have them down there, just hanging out. And he said, that's why you have that. So I get in my bunk that night. In the middle of the night, I kick the net out from underneath my... Yeah, exactly. Oh no, I'm with you, bro. You're there already, aren't you? You ever have a disturbance in the force? You know what I mean? Like you wake up in the middle of the night, you know something's wrong, you have no idea what is wrong, but you're debating with yourself, should I find out? Have you heard a noise in your house and go, if I go back to sleep, that robber might just go ahead and leave? Anybody? She's like, I get it, right? You know the struggle, right? You're like, should I get up and inspect the house? Or if I go back to sleep, maybe they'll just take what they want. But I couldn't sleep, and I'm like, there's something wrong. And I grabbed my flashlight, it was right here in a little group, and I brought it up, and there he was on the inside of the net, that giant spider. And he's like, hola, Fefi, fresca la memoria? Crazy. I hate cats. Oh, sorry. I know that's like the worst transition in comedy history. That y'all were like, that was weird and just threw it out there. You hate cats, so what? Where are my dog people at? See? That's right. I don't really hate cats, but like when I had a cat and my daughter had this cat and the cat killed a rabbit, and we had to have a funeral for this rabbit that the cat killed. So we're standing there and I'm burying a rabbit, and I look down at my daughter and I say, do you think we should say a few words? And she said, I got it, Dad. She leans over and she says, I'm sorry that my cat killed you. And it's probably gonna kill the rest of your family. But don't worry, we'll bury them here with you. I'm raising a serial killer. This little fluffy bunny, she's supposed to be crying. Instead, she lifts up the ear and says, your family's next. It's only the second time I've told that joke, by the way. Okay. So, if you have a dog, when you come home, it smells you. It's like, where have you been? What have you been doing? Who have you been with? Have you cheated on me with other dogs, right? You know that everybody's claimed that, right? I saw another dog today, you probably smelled muffins, you know, whatever it is, I get it. But if you have a cat and you come home, you smell what it has been doing and where it has been doing it. Right? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Cats, they use the bathroom in the house. That was just a statement. Okay, so, but what I can't stand is the way that people name their dogs. So listen, how many of y'all have a dog? Raise your hand if you have a dog. All right, what's your dog's name? Oski. Okay, what kind of dog is it? Chihuahua mix. Okay, name Oski. Where did you come up with the name? It was him? Just learning to talk? I get it, yeah. What do we name the dog? Oski! And they were like, perfect. Okay, that's great. I saw lots of hands. What is the name of your dog? Buddy. Oh, my dad's name's Bud. I'm kind of offended, actually. I'm not sure how to feel about that. What's your dog's name? What? Bear. Is it a big dog? It better be, but the name Bear. I want to get mistaken for a bear. Who else wouldn't tell me a name of a dog? Yeah, what do you got? Jumbo. Gumbo. Wow. This is the problem. This is the exact problem that I was going to tell you about. Naming a dog a food name. You got a what? Beans. Listen, if your dogs get out in your neighborhood and you've named them a food name like Brownie or Coco or Gumbo or Beans, and you're yelling for your dog in the middle of the night, Coco! Snickers! Brownie! Gumbo! With beans! I'm like, now I've got to go to 7-Eleven and hope they have gumbo. That's what I'm saying. I've got to have a Snickers right then. I got to snap into a Slim Jim or something. Because Slim Jim! I get it, that's what you do. One of my friends named his dog and I called him up and I said, hey, what are you into? What are you doing right now? And he said, right now, I'm walking naked down the street. I said, what did the neighbors say? They said, get out of my yard. And I said, I would say the same thing. You need to clothe yourself with righteousness or something, okay? He's like, no, that's the dog's name. He named his dog Naked. I can't ask him what he's doing anymore. Like, what are you into? He's like, well, bathing naked. I'm like, well, why'd you answer the phone? Turn off the camera, it's FaceTime. Like, we were having a serious conversation one time, in the middle of the conversation, he's like, hold on, I gotta get naked. I'm like, hold on, I gotta get a new friend. It's what I'm after right now is a new friend that names their dog Brian or something. I'm gonna go with baby name pet owners from now on. Crazy. Oh man, I love music. And one of the things, well, let me just tell you this right before I go into that about dog owners. They seem to look like their owners sometimes, don't they? Like a big muscly guy, he's gonna have a bulldog. It's just weird seeing that. A real tall guy, he's got like a greyhound. And I've got a Yorkie. So, you know what I'm saying? Did you just say I should have had a husky? You just said I should have a husky. Is that what you said? What gave you that idea? That's another one of those magic tricks I do on stage. Someone always falls for that. I just let it happen. It happened. Should have got a husky, you think? All right, thanks for playing along. But I love music, I love singing. But my problem is I always get songs messed up with the words. You ever do that? Like sing and you get you and me backwards? the song changes completely. Like you try to sing along with Mariah Carey, and you're like, you can't live if living is without me. That's a stalker song now. Or I'll be singing and I'll hear another lyric that should be in its spot. Like when The Weeknd is playing his song, I can't feel my face when I'm with you, 'cause you're my dentist. If you don't know that song, it didn't make any sense right then. Or I'll be singing along with the great John Legend and get that backwards. Your head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind. 'Cause all of you loves all of me. All my curves and all my edges. All my husky imperfections. Okay, you did it. Thank you. Oh, I can only imagine like what it'd be like to be a famous person's kid. I mean, y'all can ask my daughter sometime, but you know what I'm saying. But I was frustrated all the way here yesterday. You have to wear your mask on the plane. Who can recognize this guy? I'm just kidding. Okay, that's not true. But I was wondering what it'd be like to be a famous person kid, like the Governor. You know, Arnold. He has children, y'all. If you were his kid and your mom said, you wait till your father gets home. And he kicks open the door. He's like, go to your room, I'll be there in a jiffy. See how that works right there? In comedy, we call that a callback, and it usually gets a round of applause. I'm just saying. Okay. But no, if he came in that front door going, go to your room, I'll be there in a minute, I'd be like waiting for a guy that looked just like him to bust through the back door and go, come with me if you want to live. You know, that's what I would want to happen. But can you imagine him putting his children down, you know, for bedtime? Not putting them down, like, you're short and you can't work out and you have no muscles. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When I laugh, it's because I just made that up and it worked, and that's what I'm like, I gotta keep that one. Yeah. So like, does he sing to his children? Like, what would it be like to have Arnold sing to you when you're good? What songs would he sing? Would he sing like, Old MacDonald had the farm. He says that in every movie. What does that mean? Is that LOL? He's in the script and he's like, no, Arnold, that means laugh out loud. No, it's loud. Yes, sir. Just gonna go over here in a jiffy. It's gonna be great. Would he sing like, I don't know, London Bridge is falling down. Everybody get down and get to the chopper. What is that? He gives too many instructions in every movie he's in, doesn't he? He's like, stay in the vehicle and get down and get to the chopper. I'll see you later. I'll be back. You know what I mean? That's what. Stop it. Or maybe he would sing, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Set the charge and blow the bridge and watch the people scream. That kid would be messed up. Or my favorite, the itsy bitsy spider when the water spout. Then out came a sniper and took the spider out. That's just weird. It's weird. I love music, and I'm gonna bring this all the way up here. Does that sound good? So anyway, I just there we go. I love music, and how many of y'all ever seen like the Sing Off? Did y'all watch the Sing Off? Yeah. Okay. Did you watch like the movie Pitch Perfect? I didn't, because I'm a Christian. But anyway, set you up on that one. Gotcha. Okay, so I always wanted to be in one of those singing groups, one of those a cappella groups, but I didn't have any friends. So I made up my own group and we sound something like this. All right, we got our own microphone. That sounds better than that one, doesn't it? All right, here we go. Our group is called Hoss. I'm gonna cut that joke out too. Okay, so but luckily, they let me run the record player. Here we go. This song goes a little something like this. I remember when he came to the earth. He's born a baby in a manger. And I remember right after his birth, the kingdom healed many strangers. They were looking for a baby to kill, but that wasn't my God's will. So Jesus grew in favor of God and man. The master's plan. I remember the time. Okay, that's how that goes. Thank you. I created all of those sounds right in front of you. Every part was me. And that took a lot of practice and concentration when I just did it, because remember, I have ADD. I'm always like, where was I? Okay. And I remember, I'm going to close with two little things here. My first mission trip ever was when in second grade. You're like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, see, they had a door knocking campaign in the church where my dad preached. Y'all know about those, right? And I was in second grade, and they're like, you're too young to go. But what they didn't know is that there were a bunch of houses between my elementary school and home. And I was like, I'm going on a mission trip, y'all. Now, I didn't know the gospel, so all I had was, my dad preaches at the Church of Christ across the street, you should go there. That's all I had. So I went to the first door. Yeah, my dad preaches at the church across the street, you should go there. No, that's nice. Would you like some cake? Yes, I would. I started immediately quoting scripture. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring the gospel. You know, I'm like, this is working out. Go to the next door. Yeah, my dad preaches at the church across the street, you should go there. And they're like, would you like some cookies? Yes, I would. Actually, I think that would go nicely with the cake I had next door. Then I saw this travel trailer behind somebody's house, and I could tell somebody lived there, so I knocked on that door. I was like, this older gentleman answers the door, and he's like, what's up? And I said, well, hey, my dad preaches across the street, you should go there. He's like, I used to go there. I'll see you Sunday. I was like, no cake, maybe ice cream or something, maybe nothing. I'm going home, this ain't working. You know, I'm like, I go home, and that Sunday, that guy shows up at church. Invitation song is sung. He goes down front. My dad gets him into his rehab, helping with some of the issues he had. He came back to church, and all of a sudden he's doing the communion talk and leading prayers and serving, and it's like, this is kind of cool. And I'm like, but he still didn't give me any ice cream. You know what I'm saying? And then my grandmother came to church, and she's a widow. And she shows up and meets this guy in the foyer. They got married. I could have gone to his house and been like, you be my grandpa? Because he would have said yes. And like, he's the guy that taught me what humor is all about. He taught me how to play the guitar. He taught me Irish drinking songs, which really made my dad happy. His name was Oliver McLean, right? So he was Irish, and I'd walk in the house, who threw the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's chowder? That's a real song, y'all. Look it up on iTunes, right? It's Bing Crosby, and there's like 22 verses to that song that you can sing. And hey, I also found out, learning that song, that I think that Zacchaeus song we sing at Vacation Bible School is Irish drinking song. Think about it. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Okay, so you're welcome. You'll never think of that song the same again. You're gonna be like, pass me a pint. Oh no, you wouldn't do that. What? Okay, so I have all kinds of jokes that hit my brain. I filter at all costs. Okay. And so, he really impacted my life. And my biological grandfather died in '79. So he was my granddaddy Ollie, is what we called him. Big impact in all that I do. You never know what one invitation will do, no matter where. So I like the last thing I do is this, anybody like rap music? I'm with you guys. All right, that's a great show. Thank you so much. No, I'm kidding. So this is a song from my childhood, and I redid the words because I can't remember his words. All right, and it goes a little something like this. I'm gonna drop the beat now, okay? Sounds like Michael Jackson, doesn't it? It's not. Okay, here we go. I may remember this song. People from the 70s are like, no, not that song. This one goes something like this. And it's about food. You ready? Alright, stop. Grab a plate and listen. Horseback with 7 new dishes, something. Makes my clothes fit tightly. I've got an appetite daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Somebody hand me another roll. To the extreme, I rock a buffet like a mammal. Clean on my plate and then I lick it like a camel. Dance all the way to the lunchroom. Eat everything just like a vacuum cleaning. When my stomach says hungry, that's when my pants have always said husky. Love it, I hate it, I don't want to wait. Hey, who cares? I'm heading for the buffet. If there's a pizza, I'll be eating. Check out the whole mama of a spring eating. Said Huss is hungry. His jeans say husky. I said Huss is hungry. His jeans say husky. And now that the restaurant's open, I jumped in my car and my tires were smoking. Quick to the place, no mistaken. Head to the Waffle House, pound of bacon. Look at him, better quick and nimble, cause I go crazy when I hear the sizzle of waffles. I next to follow, I put him down like Rocky did Apollo. Said Boss is hungry. His jeans say husky. I said Hoss is hungry. His jeans say husky. Food. Thank you so much. Real quick commercial. I brought some t-shirts to sell. They're only $10. They say free Christian side hugs. It's got a dog and a cat so we can all be happy, okay? And it's purple. It's the color you don't make at Bible camp. You have the pink side, the blue side. No purple! Okay, so I have these for $10 and I have a DVD that's $10. So thank you so much. God bless you guys.